look at the fact that what the Supreme Court did was fix a wrong decision that was made many years ago and now give the power back to the states. What they said is that the Constitution does not guarantee a right to an abortion.
This decision and this policy will kill people. What I believe that the president and the Democratic Party needs to come to terms with is that this is not just a crisis of Roe. This is a crisis of our democracy. The Supreme Court has dramatically overreached its authority.
And at this point, only Congress can restore abortion protections. And this morning, we're joined by Congressman Richie Torres to find out what it will take to make that happen. Good morning, Congressman. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
An honor to be here.
Well, during a speech last week, President Biden called on Congress to codify abortion law. The question is, are there enough votes to actually make that happen?
Well, in the House, we passed the Women's Health Protection Act, which would statutorily codify the right to choose Roe versus Wade in federal law. It passed the House back in September, languished in the Senate in February. What we can do in the immediate term, and what the Justice Department has done, is send a clear message to red states, to restrictionist states, that no state is allowed to prohibit abortion pills. So abortion pills remain available to those who live in states where abortion is likely to become illegal.
And Congressman, we know one of the big concerns here is that this SCOTUS ruling will disproportionately affect low-income communities and people of color. Now, even though abortion does remain legal in New York, what kind of broader impact will this ruling have?
Well, the court's decision overturning Roe versus Wade is one of the most disgraceful and dangerous decisions in the recent history of the United States. It opens the door to the criminalization of abortion. It opens the door to blanket bans, including in cases of rape and incest, including in cases where a woman's health is at risk. Former Vice President Mike Pence has called for a national ban on abortion. Justice Clarence Thomas has called for the overruling of cases that protect the right to privacy, the right to use contraception, the right to sexual intimacy, the right to marriage equality. So the consequences of the decision will extend far beyond reproductive rights. It will affect every single American.
Well, we know oversight of the Supreme Court has been a hot topic for several months. I mean, Republican Senators Joe Manchin and Susan Collins say they were misled by Supreme Court Justices Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, who indicated they would uphold Roe versus Wade during the confirmation hearings, but of course voted to overturn it. We also learned that Clarence Thomas's wife played a role in the January 6th insurrection. So, I mean, do you think the Senate Judiciary Committee should open hearings in the wake of all of these allegations?
Well, certainly in the case of Clarence Thomas, he has a conflict of interest, especially if his wife was a participant in the insurrection. There's a strong case that Congress should conduct an investigation into the ethics violations, the conflict of interest surrounding Justice Thomas. You know, Justice Thomas is by far the most conservative, the most reactionary member of the Supreme Court, and he's intent on striking down even the fundamental right to privacy. So Roe versus Wade could be the tip of the iceberg based on the ideology of Justice Thomas.
And to that point, you mentioned earlier that this could be a gateway. The SCOTUS ruling on abortion has opened the door for possible changes on other issues like same-sex marriage, even access to contraception. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Justice Thomas is on a crusade against a legal doctrine known as substantive due process, which protects the right to interracial marriage, the right to same-sex marriage, the right to privacy. Justice Thomas has declared war on all of those rights and the doctrine of substantive due process upon which those rights depend. And so I'm concerned that the logic of Justice Alito's opinion in the abortion case could lead to dangerous places, which is a reminder that we cannot take progress for granted. We have to keep fighting. There's no greater threat to civil rights and human rights in the United States than the right-wing judicial activism of the Supreme Court.
Now, Congressman, earlier last week, SCOTUS also overturned concealed weapon permit laws, which lifts restrictions on gun owners in New York. A lot of people were dreading this decision. What kind of ramifications do you think this is going to have for the city and the state?
So before the decision, in order to obtain a gun in New York City, you had to demonstrate proper cause. You had to demonstrate that you had a special need to carry a firearm in public for self-defense. The Supreme Court struck down the proper cause requirement, which has the effect of establishing a general right to carry a firearm in public. So we might see masses of people arm themselves in a city as densely populated as New York, which is a situation that we've never seen before, and it could have real implications for public safety. I'm concerned that the Supreme Court's decision will flood the streets with guns, and wherever you have more guns, you will have more gun violence. The United States has more gun violence than the rest of the industrialized world because we have more guns. We make up 4% of the world's population, but 40% of the world's guns. And I worry that the court's decision is going to deepen the epidemic of gun violence, which has become the leading cause of death among children and teenagers.
All right. Well, Congressman Richie Torres, we thank you so much for joining us